The relationship between the United States and Iran is a complex web of history, politics, ideology, and power dynamics. To understand the roots of this relationship, one must delve into a timeline marked by mistrust, conflict, and geopolitical maneuvering. While it may seem that the USA harbors a deep-seated animosity towards Iran, the reality is far more nuanced, shaped by a myriad of factors that have evolved over decades. The origins of animosity between the USA and Iran can be traced back to the 1950s, when the USA played a pivotal role in the overthrow of Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh. This event, known as the 1953 Iranian coup d'etat, was orchestrated by the CIA and British intelligence agencies primarily due to Mossadegh's nationalization of Iran's oil industry, which threatened Western interests. The installation of the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, as a pro-Western authoritarian ruler further fueled anti-American sentiments among Iranians. Fast forward to 1979, the year that forever altered the course of US-Iran relations. The Iranian Revolution, spearheaded by Ayatollah Khomeini, culminated in the overthrow of the Shah and the establishment of an Islamic Republic. The storming of the US Embassy in Tehran and the subsequent hostage crisis, where 52 American diplomats were held captive for 444 days, deeply strained relations between the two nations. The USA's support for the exiled Shah and its perceived interference in Iran's internal affairs solidified Iran's stance as a staunch opponent of American influence in the region. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, US-Iran relations remained hostile, exacerbated by Iran's support for militant groups such as Hezbollah and its pursuit of nuclear capabilities. The USA, viewing Iran as a destabilizing force in the Middle East, imposed economic sanctions and adopted a policy of containment, isolating Iran diplomatically and economically. Tensions reached a boiling point in 2002 when President George W. Bush included Iran in his axis of evil alongside Iraq and North Korea, further cementing Iran's status as a pariah state in the eyes of the US government. The early 21st century witnessed a series of escalations and de-escalations in US-Iran relations, marked by moments of tentative cooperation and bitter confrontation. The election of reformist President Mohammad Khatami in Iran raised hopes for rapprochement, but these were dashed by the subsequent presidency of hardliner Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, whose provocative rhetoric and nuclear ambitions reignited tensions with the West. The standoff over Iran's nuclear program became a flashpoint for international diplomacy, with the USA leading efforts to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions through a combination of sanctions, negotiations, and covert actions. The landmark Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, signed in 2015, aimed at limiting Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief, represented a rare moment of diplomatic breakthrough between the USA and Iran. However, the JCPOA's fate took a dramatic turn in 2018, when President Donald Trump unilaterally withdrew the USA from the agreement, citing concerns over its efficacy and Iran's broader regional activities. The reimposition of sanctions and the adoption of a maximum pressure campaign against Iran plunged US-Iran relations into a new era of uncertainty and hostility. Amidst the geopolitical maneuvering and diplomatic posturing, underlying factors continue to shape the USA's approach towards Iran. Strategic considerations, including Iran's position as a regional power player with influence in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, underpin U.S. efforts to contain Iran's regional ambitions and preserve its own interests in the Middle East. The specter of Iran's support for militant proxies, its ballistic missile program, and its human rights record further compound the USA's distrust and animosity towards the Islamic Republic. However, it would be remiss to paint US-Iran relations solely through the lens of confrontation and enmity. Despite decades of hostility, there have been moments of cooperation and engagement, particularly in the realms of counterterrorism and regional stability. The recent resumption of nuclear negotiations under the Biden administration offers a glimmer of hope for renewed dialogue and potential diplomatic breakthroughs, albeit against a backdrop of deep-seated mistrust and skepticism on both sides. In conclusion, the relationship between the USA and Iran is a complex tapestry woven from historical grievances, ideological differences, and geopolitical imperatives. While mutual distrust and animosity have defined much of their interaction, there exist opportunities for dialogue, compromise, and reconciliation. Whether these opportunities will be seized remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the dynamics between the USA and Iran will continue to shape the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East for years to come.